Most criminals run from the police, but these geniuses ran straight into a jail cell. From accidental butt dials to posting detailed confessions on Facebook, here are 101 felons who did the detective work for the cops. Silence is golden, but stupidity is forever. 1. Robert Durst got away with murder for decades until he decided to star in an HBO documentary about himself. During a bathroom break, he forgot he was still wearing a hot mic and whispered, "What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course." He literally confessed to multiple homicides to the entire world while washing his hands. 2. Subtlety is clearly an art form lost on John Mogan, a bank robber in Ohio. Just days after the heist, he decided that laying low was for losers and uploaded photos to Facebook showing himself biting into a giant stack of stolen cash. Police simply looked at his public profile, got his address, and arrested him. He did it for the likes, but got a prison sentence instead. 3. Honesty is usually the best policy, but not when applying for a job as a police dispatcher. One Florida man listed his active warrants and his experience dealing pharmaceuticals under the criminal history section. He thought he was being transparent, but the police just invited him in for an interview that was actually an immediate arrest party. 4. Brian Walshy tried to convince police his wife had simply vanished, but his iPad search history was screaming guilty. He had Googled things like 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to, and can you be charged with murder without a body? He basically treated Google like a co-conspirator. 5. Richard DeBate told detectives a dramatic story about a masked intruder tying him up and killing his wife. The problem was his wife's Fitbit. The device recorded her walking around the house casually for an hour after she was supposedly dead. His entire alibi was destroyed by a step counter. 6. Two burglars in the UK were in the middle of cracking a safe when one of them accidentally butt-dialed 911. The emergency operator sat there and listened to their entire play-by-play, including them calling each other by their real names. Police were waiting outside the building before they even finished the job. 7. When the Richland Police Department posted Anthony Akers' mugshot on their Most Wanted Facebook page, he replied in the comments. He told the cops he was busy but would turn himself in later. After blowing them off twice, he finally arrived at the station and posted a selfie to prove he actually showed up. 8. Cloud computing is apparently a mystery to some thieves. A genius in California stole an iPad and immediately started taking selfies to celebrate his new toy. He didn't realize that every single photo uploaded directly to the victim's other devices. The owner just handed the printed selfies to the cops like a trading card collection of the suspect. 9. Leaving evidence behind is bad, but leaving your entire identity is worse. A thief in Massachusetts broke into a house but dropped his wallet while struggling to escape through a window. Inside was his driver's license and his birth certificate. He essentially gave the detectives a complete dossier on who to arrest before they even started looking. 10. Snow days are great for kids, but terrible for getaway drivers. A criminal in Canada decided to rob a garage during a fresh, heavy snowfall. He stole the goods and walked straight home, leaving a pristine trail of footprints from the crime scene directly to his front porch. Police did not need a detective for this one, just a pair of eyes and some winter boots. 11. Anthony Garcia literally wore his confession on his chest. He got a massive, detailed tattoo depicting a murder he committed, including specific details like the liquor store name. Detectives saw his shirtless mugshot for a minor traffic violation and realized he had inked a crime scene map right onto his skin. 12. Paper trails are dangerous, especially when you write them yourself. A bank robber in Chicago handed the teller a terrifying note demanding all the cash. The genius forgot to check the other side of the paper, though. He had written his demand on the back of his own deposit slip, which had his full name and home address printed clearly at the bottom. 13. Forgetting your phone is a hassle, but realizing it mid-robbery is a disaster. A man in London successfully pulled off a store robbery, but realized mid-getaway that he had left his smartphone on the counter. In a panic, he actually walked back into the store and asked the clerk if they had seen it. The clerk calmly handed the phone to the police officers who had just arrived. 14. A Connecticut man was due in court to face charges for stealing cars. To make sure he arrived on time, he stole another car from the parking lot next door and drove it to his trial. Police automated license plate readers scanned the stolen vehicle in the courthouse lot, and he was arrested before he even parked. 15. Loyalty programs are great, but not for shoplifters. A thief in France tried to walk out with a PlayStation, but clearly wanted to maximize his consumer benefits. At the self-checkout, while pretending to scan the item, he swiped his personal loyalty card to get points for the theft. The store system instantly logged his full name and address for the police. 16. Customer service hotlines are designed for defective toasters, not for illegal contraband. A woman in Texas called 911 to file a formal complaint about the quality of the illicit product she had just purchased. She demanded an officer come and test it for purity. The police were happy to help with quality control and promptly arrested her for possession after verifying her stash was indeed real. 17. Rapper Nuke Bizzle released a music video on YouTube titled Eid. In the song, he explicitly bragged about getting rich by filing false unemployment claims and even held up a stack of stolen debit cards as props. Federal agents watched the video, thanked him for the evidence, and indicted him for stealing over $1 million. 18. A couple in Oregon stole a credit card and used it to buy a scratch-off lottery ticket that won $50,000. They were ecstatic and went straight to the lottery office to claim the prize. Unfortunately, the lottery officials had already been notified about the stolen card purchase, and police were waiting to greet the winners. 19. A criminal out on parole decided it was the perfect time to rob a bank. He seemed to forget that he was wearing a court-ordered GPS ankle monitor that tracks his exact location every minute. His parole officer could literally see him standing inside the bank vault on the digital map while the robbery was happening. 20. A bike thief listed a custom, high-end bicycle on Facebook Marketplace just a few hours after stealing it. The person who messaged him to buy it was the actual owner who recognized the custom parts. They set up a meeting, but instead of bringing cash, the owner brought a squad of police officers to close the deal. 21. A thief in Seattle found an unlocked BMW with the keys inside and took it for a joyride. He did not know that the owner could control the car remotely. The owner locked the doors, trapping the thief inside, and used the car sound system to tell him the cops were on their way. He was basically locked in a cage on wheels. 22. A burglar broke into a house in Washington but got distracted by the homeowner's gaming setup. He couldn't resist logging into his own personal account to play a few rounds of Fortnite before stealing anything. Police simply contacted Microsoft, got his IP address and gamertag, and tracked him down through his gaming addiction. 23. A man robbing a pizza place decided he needed a disguise but didn't have a mask. He used a permanent marker to draw a fake, scribbled beard directly onto his face. It looked terrible, and the ink wouldn't wash off later. Police easily spotted him walking down the street with a black doodle still on his chin. 24. During a home invasion, a criminal's phone battery started to die. In a move that defies all logic, he plugged his phone into the victim's wall charger and forgot to unplug it when he fled the scene. Police found the fully charged phone, unlocked it, and found it was full of selfies of the suspect. 25. Breaking and entering is tiring work, apparently. A man in Georgia broke into a Taco Bell, cooked himself a meal, and then decided it was nap time. He fell asleep on the floor near the fryers. When police arrived the next morning, he was still snoozing. He essentially broke in just to provide himself with bed and breakfast accommodations inside a jail cell. 26. Taunting the police is never a good idea, especially on social media. A fugitive decided to post a video on Snapchat bragging that they would never catch him because he was too smart. He forgot one massive detail. He had the Snap Map location feature turned on. Officers didn't even have to investigate. They just drove to the pin on the map and knocked on the door. 27. Live streaming. Your own crimes is the definition of self-snitching. A Florida woman broadcasted herself driving erratically on Periscope, telling her thousands of viewers exactly how intoxicated she was. Concerned viewers called 911, and police used the landmarks visible in the background of her video to pinpoint her location and pull her over before she could crash. 28. Resumes are for job interviews, not crime scenes. A burglar in Dallas broke into a home but clumsily dropped a piece of paper during the heist. It wasn't just a random receipt, it was a fully completed job application containing his full name, current address, and previous references. Police didn't offer him a job, but they did give him a secure position in jail. 29. Hailing a taxi requires actually looking at the car first. A man in Copenhagen was carrying a backpack full of illegal substances and needed a quick getaway from a street corner. He flagged down a car, jumped in the back seat, and realized way too late that he had hailed a marked police cruiser. The officers were surprised but happy to drive him directly to the station. 30. Vanity can be a criminal's downfall. A wanted fugitive got tired of seeing his most wanted mugshot looking terrible on the local news channel. He actually messaged the police department with a selfie and asked them to swap the photo because the original was too unflattering. Police thanked him for the high-quality photo and used the digital metadata to track his location. 31. A dealer was in the middle of a transaction for illegal contraband when he accidentally sat on his phone. He managed to butt dial 911, and the dispatcher heard the entire negotiation, including specific prices and weights. Police were waiting for him when he finished the deal, which is basically the most efficient customer service response time in history. 32. Paint dries slowly, which is very bad news for vandals. A vandal in Australia sprayed graffiti all over a public building but failed to notice the paint was dripping heavily onto his shoes. He walked away, leaving a colorful, perfect trail of footprints that led police from the wall right to his front door. He was literally caught red-handed, or rather, red-footed. 33. A thief stole a woman's phone but didn't know the passcode to unlock it. While fumbling with the screen, he accidentally voice-dialed the last number called, which happened to be the woman's husband. The husband listened to the thief bragging to his friends about the robbery and told the police exactly where they were headed to sell the device. 34. Locking your keys in the car is frustrating. Doing it during a robbery is tragic. A bank robber in Florida did everything right until he got back to his getaway vehicle. He realized with horror that he had locked the keys inside the car while the engine was running. He was forced to awkwardly try and carjack a passerby, which gave police enough time to surround him. 35. A man saw a surveillance photo of himself robbing a gas station posted on the local Crime Stoppers Facebook page. He shared the post to his own personal wall and captioned it, "LOL, is this me?" His friends, family, and the local police department all confirmed that yes, it was indeed him, and officers arrived shortly after to congratulate him on being right. 36. A burglar broke into a sausage factory but stopped to grab a quick snack during the crime. While eating, he sneezed directly onto a glass window. Police swabbed the glass, matched the DNA to a known offender in the national database, and arrested him. It is hard to deny you were at the scene when your own biological material is plastered all over the evidence. 37. Logging out is the most important step of internet safety. A burglar in Minnesota broke into a house and decided to check his Facebook profile on the homeowner's computer while ransacking the place. He forgot to log out before leaving. The victim came home, saw the profile open on the screen, and told police exactly who had just robbed them. 38. A woman suspected of a crime saw a Crime Stoppers reward offered for information leading to her own arrest. She called the police hotline to turn herself in, explicitly asking how to collect the cash reward. She was arrested immediately and was very disappointed to learn that criminals cannot legally claim bounties on their own capture. 39. A man stole a very distinctive, bright neon jacket from a clothing store and escaped unnoticed. A few hours later, he walked back past the same store wearing the stolen jacket to see if the police were there. The security guard just pointed at him, and the officers standing right there made the easiest and most fashionable arrest of the day. 40. Police knocked on a suspect's door to serve a warrant, expecting a confrontation. The suspect, hiding inside, yelled, "He is not home," through the closed door. The officers, realizing that empty houses usually do not talk back, kicked the door down and arrested him for being both a criminal and a terrible liar who shouldn't play hide-and-seek. 41. A vandal spray-painted graffiti on a historic building, which is bad enough on its own. But for his tag, he decided to write his own full legal name in giant letters across the wall. Police just looked him up in the phone book and went to his house. It takes a special kind of ego to autograph your own crime scene for the authorities. 42. A robber held up a convenience store but dropped his wallet while running out the door. Inside was his most recent pay stub from his job at a fast food restaurant down the street. Police went to the restaurant, ordered a burger, and arrested the employee in the middle of his shift while he was still wearing his uniform. 43. A bank robber demanded a specific bag of money that the teller explicitly warned him not to take. He grabbed it anyway. The bag contained a GPS tracker and an exploding dye pack. He was found 2 blocks away, covered in permanent red dye, looking like a cartoon character that had a very bad day at the office. 44. A thief stole a distinct custom camera and immediately listed it on Craigslist. The owner saw the listing and arranged to buy it back. When they met, the thief started explaining how the camera worked, proving he didn't own it. The buyer signaled the undercover cops waiting nearby to make the arrest and recover the gear. 45. A man walked into a store, handed the manager his professional resume, and asked for a job application. While the manager went to the back office, the man stole money from the register and fled. The manager came back, saw the missing cash, and just handed the resume with the thief's address and phone number to the police. 46. Legal defense strategies rarely involve wearing the stolen evidence to your own trial, but nobody told this defendant. He walked into the courtroom facing theft charges for a custom-made shirt, while wearing that exact shirt on his back. The judge, prosecutor, and everyone with eyes noticed immediately, making this the easiest conviction in legal history. 47. Manual transmissions are apparently the ultimate anti-theft device for the younger generation. 3 carjackers in Maryland demanded a woman surrender her vehicle, but their plan dissolved instantly when they realized it had a stick shift. After stalling the engine repeatedly while the owner watched from the sidewalk, they humiliated themselves by running away on foot. 48. Leaving a breadcrumb trail is bad, but leaving a potato salad trail is just embarrassing. After raiding a deli for cash and food, these thieves dropped a massive container of potato salad that leaked all the way down the street. Police didn't need detective skills. They just followed the line of mayonnaise across the pavement directly to the suspect's front door. 49. Calling the police on your own victim takes a special level of entitlement. A burglar broke into a home but panicked when the homeowner confronted him with a legally owned firearm. Terrified, the intruder dialed 911 to complain that someone was pointing a gun at him, essentially ordering a police escort to come save him and throw him in jail. 50. Paying court fees is annoying, but using a stolen credit card to do it is suicide. A man on probation walked into the clerk's office to pay his monthly fine so he wouldn't go back to jail. He handed them a card he had stolen that morning, which immediately flagged as fraudulent. He was arrested on the spot for trying to pay for his freedom with a felony. 51. Picking the right target is essential, so robbing a store filled with black belts is a strategic failure. A teenager tried to hold up a martial arts supply shop, apparently unaware that everyone inside was an expert in hand-to-hand combat. The owner easily disarmed him and held him in a painful submission hold until the cops arrived to rescue him from the bruised ego. 52. Getting away with a bank robbery once is luck. Trying to hit the exact same branch the next day is insanity. A Pennsylvania man got greedy after a successful heist and walked back into the same lobby 24 hours later. The tellers obviously recognized the guy who had just robbed them, hit the silent alarm, and police were waiting before he even reached the counter. 53. Trying to outsmart security cameras usually backfires if you don't understand how glass works. 2 men removed their rear license plate to hide their identity, but then placed it on the dashboard inside the car, facing outward. The bank's high-definition cameras simply zoomed through the windshield and captured the number perfectly, completely ruining their stealth getaway plan. 54. Tech support agents are trained to help, but not when you are trying to unlock a stolen laptop. A thief couldn't guess the password on his new loot, so he called the manufacturer for help. He read them the serial number, which was flagged as stolen, and the agent kept him on the line pretending to troubleshoot while directing police to his front door. 55. Hiding from the law requires staying out of the spotlight, not standing in the front row of a televised protest. A fugitive appeared on live national news holding a sign, thinking he was blending in. His probation officer happened to be watching TV at home, recognized the face immediately, and called the station to let them know exactly where to pick him up. 56. Cardio is important, especially if you snatch a purse from a competitive marathon runner. This thief thought he could sprint away, but he picked the wrong victim. She chased him down for several blocks without even getting winded, tackled him to the ground, and held him there. He was physically exhausted while she barely broke a sweat during the arrest. 57. Walking into a bar to rob it is risky, but doing it during a police retirement party is a death wish. A man demanded cash from the register, failing to notice the room was packed with off-duty officers celebrating. He was tackled by about 10 different cops before he could even finish his threat, resulting in the shortest standoff in criminal history. 58. Every heist needs an exit strategy, and leaving your car keys at the crime scene is not it. A burglar set his keys on the kitchen counter to carry a heavy TV and forgot to pick them up. When he got to his car, he realized he was stranded. He had to flee on foot, leaving his vehicle, his keys, and his registration for the detectives to find. 59. Social media addiction is real, and for one escapee, it was his downfall. Minutes after breaking out of a police transport van, he updated his Facebook status to "I am free" and tagged his location at a restaurant. Police saw the post, drove to the tag, and arrested him before he could even look at the menu. He traded his freedom for a few likes. 60. Impatience led to one of the most polite arrests ever. A robber couldn't get the cash because the clerk didn't have the safe key. Frustrated but optimistic, the thief wrote down his real cell phone number and asked the clerk to call him when the manager arrived. Instead, the clerk called the police, who set up a trap meeting and arrested the hopeful criminal. 61. Hunger can make you do stupid things like ordering pizza to your own house with a stolen credit card. A woman used the card for a large delivery and then signed the receipt with her real legal name. Police didn't have to do any investigating. The delivery address and signature were all the evidence they needed to close the case. 62. Smart devices are often smarter than the people stealing them. A criminal stole a GPS unit from a car and turned it on at his own house. The device's home feature automatically pinged its location to the owner's cloud account. Police simply drove to the address on the screen, where the thief had essentially broadcasted his exact hiding spot to the victim. 63. Haggling with a taxi driver is normal, but trying to pay with stolen loot is not. A bank robber jumped into a cab but didn't have cash for the fare, so he offered the driver a cut of the money. The driver pretended to agree, drove him straight to the police station precinct, and honked the horn until officers came out to settle the payment dispute. 64. Hansel and Gretel left breadcrumbs, but this thief left highly flammable evidence. After stealing jerry cans of gasoline from a shed, he failed to notice one was leaking. He walked all the way home, leaving a continuous, smelly fuel line on the pavement. Police didn't need a tracking dog. They just followed the nose-stinging aroma right to his backyard. 65. Patience is a virtue, unless you are waiting for the police to arrest you. A man tried to cash a clearly forged check for $1 million. When the teller stalled him to verify the funds, he sat down in the lobby and waited for 20 minutes. He was still sitting there calmly when the officers arrived to verify that he was going to prison. 66. Corporate branding helps customers identify employees, but it also helps police identify robbers. A fast food worker decided to rob a pharmacy during his lunch break. He was smart enough to wear a mask, but not smart enough to take off his work uniform, which had his name tag clearly pinned to his chest. Police just drove to the burger joint across the street and arrested Steve, near the Fryer. 67. Take your dog to work day is a fun concept, but taking your dog to a burglary is a strategic disaster. A thief brought his beloved pet along for a home invasion but fled in a panic when the alarm went off, forgetting the dog inside. The friendly pup was wearing a collar with the owner's phone number and address, which the police happily used to reunite the pair in a holding cell. 68. Security protocols exist for a reason, as one robber discovered too late. He went to a bar, handed his driver's license to the doorman to be scanned, and was allowed inside. 10 minutes later, he tried to rob the register. The bouncer simply printed out the scanned ID details and handed them to the police, proving that the cover charge was the least of his problems. 69. Parking enforcement officers do not care if you are in the middle of a bank heist. A robber parked his getaway car directly in front of a fire hydrant. While he was inside demanding cash, a tow truck hooked up his vehicle and hauled it away. He ran out with the money only to find an empty parking spot and was arrested while trying to claim his car at the impound lot. 70. Customer satisfaction was clearly a priority for this confused shoplifter. After stealing a pair of expensive sneakers from a sporting goods store, he realized they were a size too small. He actually returned to the store an hour later and tried to exchange the stolen merchandise for a better fit. The clerk recognized him instantly and called security to assist him with his very final return. 71. Efficiency is generally a good thing, but calling ahead to reserve your robbery money is a step too far. A man called a bank in Connecticut to tell them he was coming to rob them and to have the cash bundled and ready to avoid a scene. The bank thanked him for the heads up and had the SWAT team waiting in the lobby to greet him the moment he walked through the door. 72. Santa Claus makes chimney travel look easy, but the reality is much tighter and greasier. A burglar tried to enter a restaurant through the rooftop exhaust vent. He slid down but got hopelessly stuck in the narrow metal shaft covered in cooking grease. He had to scream for help until the fire department arrived to cut him out and slap the handcuffs on his slimy wrists. 73. DNA evidence is usually microscopic, but sometimes it is a full set of teeth. During a struggle with a homeowner, a burglar took a punch to the face and spit out his dentures before running away. He left them behind on the carpet. Police found the serial number on the false teeth, matched it to his dental records, and put the bite on him for the crime. 74. Recycling paper is good for the environment, but check what you are writing on first. A bank robber handed the teller a threatening note demanding money. He had written the demand on the back of his own probation discharge papers, which included his full name, current address, and case number. He literally handed the teller his criminal biography along with the threat. 75. Using public transportation for a getaway vehicle requires perfect timing and patience. A robber took a taxi to the bank, asked the driver to wait, and ran inside to steal the money. The driver got tired of waiting and left. The robber ran out to an empty curb and was forced to hail another cab, which happened to be an undercover police car monitoring the area. 76. Construction sites can be treacherous traps for escaping criminals. A thief snatched a purse and sprinted down an alleyway, not realizing it had just been paved with wet cement. He got bogged down instantly, lost his shoes in the muck, and left a perfect set of footprints and socks stuck in the concrete. Police just waited for him to extricate himself from the sidewalk. 77. If a car seems too easy to steal, it is probably a trap. A thief saw a running vehicle with the doors unlocked and jumped in to steal it. It was a police bait car rigged with cameras and remote door locks. The moment he drove off, officers shut down the engine and locked him inside, listening to him panic while they drove over to make the easiest arrest of the day. 78. Family support is wonderful, but not when you are confessing to a felony. Two robbers were discussing their crime in the car when one of them butt-dialed his mother. She listened to the whole conversation about the stolen goods and, being a responsible parent, called the police to report her son. She grounded him for life, and the judge gave him a timeout in state prison. 79. Stealing gasoline requires knowing the difference between a fuel tank and a sewage tank. A thief in Australia tried to siphon gas from a tour bus, but inserted his hose into the wrong pipe. He ended up sucking a mouthful of raw sewage instead of petrol. The police found him nearby, vomiting uncontrollably, and noted that the punishment had already fit the crime perfectly. 80. Knowing your geography is crucial when fleeing a crime scene. A group of vandals ran away from security guards and scaled a tall fence to hide in the backyard of a building. They didn't read the sign out front, which identified the building as the regional police headquarters. They were essentially hiding in the lion's den and were captured instantly by the staff. 81. Capitalism has rules, and selling stolen goods back to the owner is a violation of them. A man stole a lawnmower from a garage and then walked down the street knocking on doors to sell it. He knocked on the victim's front door and tried to sell him his own mower. The homeowner recognized the machine and detained the entrepreneur until cops arrived. 82. Writing a bad check is a crime, but this was a whole new level of incompetence. A robber attempted to pay for a large purchase with a stolen check, but when asked for ID, he panicked and decided to just rob the store at gunpoint. In the chaos, he left his own personal checkbook on the counter. Police had his account number and address before he even left the parking lot. 83. Keeping a journal is therapeutic, but writing down your crimes is legally hazardous. A landlord evicted a tenant and found a diary left behind in the bedroom. The tenant had meticulously documented every burglary he committed, including dates, locations, and items stolen. He basically ghost-wrote his own indictment for the district attorney, saving them weeks of work. 84. Celebrating your birthday is special, but maybe don't do it during a break-in. A burglar broke into a recreation center and found an ice cream cake in the fridge. He was so comfortable that he lit the candles to celebrate. Police found him singing happy birthday to himself in the kitchen. They gave him a party hat and a ride to the station. 85. Fairy tales don't usually end in jail cells, but this one did. A burglar was fleeing a home invasion when the homeowner grabbed his leg. The burglar managed to pull free, but his shoe came off in the struggle. Police found the shoe, which had his name written inside on the sole because his mom bought them for him. It was a perfect fit for a conviction. 86. Hide-and-seek champions know to stay silent, but smartphones make terrible teammates. A burglar hiding inside a closet while police searched the home accidentally leaned on his screen and dialed 911. The dispatcher heard the officers shouting nearby and radioed them to check the closet. He essentially called the cops on himself from 3 feet away, saving them the trouble of opening the door. 87. Bail is the key to freedom, unless you try to pay for it with monopoly money. A man arrested for forgery was granted bail, and his friend arrived at the station to post the bond. The genius friend handed the clerk a stack of obviously counterfeit bills that still smelled like printer ink. The clerk just sighed and arrested the friend on the spot, giving them matching cells for their shared stupidity. 88. Priorities are important, but checking your gambling results during a felony is bad time management. A man robbing a convenience store forced the clerk to scan his stack of scratch-off lottery tickets to see if he was a winner before demanding the cash. The delay gave police enough time to surround the building. He didn't win the jackpot, but he did win a guaranteed long-term stay in state prison. 89. Politeness is a rare quality, especially in the world of armed robbery. A man actually called a store ahead of time to ask what time they closed because he didn't want to arrive after hours. He showed up 5 minutes before closing time to rob the place, but the employees were suspicious of the strange caller and had the police waiting. He literally made an appointment for his own arrest. 90. Bringing a knife to a gunfight is a cliché for a reason, but this was worse. A man tried to rob a firearms store armed with only a baseball bat and a bad attitude. He failed to consider that the customers inside were all armed, along with the staff. He was held at gunpoint by about 5 different citizens until the police arrived to save him from his poor tactical decision. 91. Custom license plates are great for expressing yourself, but they are terrible for anonymity. A bank robber's getaway car had a vanity plate that was simply his own nickname. Witnesses memorized it instantly because it was so unique. Police just typed the name into the DMV database, got his address, and drove to his house. He paid the government extra money to help them catch him faster. 92. Compliance with age restrictions is admirable, but not while you are robbing the place. A man robbing a liquor store also grabbed a pack of cigarettes. The clerk, out of habit, asked to see his ID to verify his age. The robber instinctively handed over his driver's license, realized his mistake a second later, and fled. The clerk kept the ID and handed it to the detectives like a business card. 93. Cinderella left a glass slipper, but this burglar left something much more essential. During a frantic escape through a small basement window, his prosthetic leg got caught on the frame and detached. He hopped away on 1 foot, leaving the medical device behind. Police traced the serial number on the prosthetic directly to his medical records and picked him up at the hospital. 94. Situational awareness was clearly at 0 for this confused criminal. A man in a ski mask ran into a building demanding cash, thinking it was a bank branch. He had actually run into the lobby of the local police department. The officer at the front desk just looked up, confused, and drew his weapon, It was the shortest and most geographically embarrassed robbery attempt on record. 95. Buying a getaway car usually requires cash, not a traceable paper trail. A man planning a bank robbery bought a used car to use specifically for his escape. The problem was that he paid for the car with a personal check featuring his name and address. When witnesses described the vehicle, police tracked the sale and drove straight to the account holder's home to return his car. 96. Tourism is fine, but treating a bank vault like a travel landmark is risky. A burglar managed to break into a secure vault and, instead of hurrying, stopped to take a selfie with the stacks of cash. He posted it to his Instagram stories with the location tag still active. The police social media team saw the post and arrived at the bank before he even finished loading his bag. 97. Theft recovery features work exactly as advertised, much to this thief's dismay. After stealing a phone, the thief went to a crowded movie theater to relax. The victim used the Find My app to make the device play a loud, piercing sound. The entire silent theater looked at the thief, and the police waiting in the lobby escorted him out before the opening credits finished rolling. 98. Everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame, but this was too much. A man wanted for a local robbery walked up to a news crew reporting on the crime to correct their details. He told the reporter on camera that they got the story wrong and explained exactly how the suspect did it. The reporter signaled the police standing nearby, and he gave his next interview from a jail cell. 99. Reading comprehension is a skill that many criminals seem to lack. A thief stole a laptop that had "Property of the Police Department" engraved on the bottom in bright, bold letters. He took it to a pawn shop and tried to sell it. The pawnbroker looked at the engraving, looked at the thief, and silently hit the panic button to summon the laptop's rightful owners to collect it. 100. Butt dialing 911 is bad, but butt dialing your victim is personal. A thief stole a landline phone from a house and plugged it in at his own apartment. He somehow hit the redial button, which called the victim's house. The victim answered, heard the thief talking to his wife about the robbery in the background, and used caller ID to guide the police directly to the thief's living room. 101. Fashion choices define us, but irony can actually get us arrested. A man was pulled over for speeding in a stolen vehicle while wearing a t-shirt that said in big bold letters, "Trust me, I'm a lawyer." The police officer found the irony hilarious and made sure to include a photo of the shirt in the arrest report. He wasn't a lawyer, and he definitely needed a real one after that fashion faux pas. That is 101 reasons why the mute button is a criminal's best friend. Now, be honest. If you found a bag of cash with absolutely zero cameras around, are you keeping it or calling the cops? I bet 90% of you are lying to yourselves right now. Prove me wrong in the comments. If this incompetence made you feel like a genius, smash that like button and subscribe.